This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
So Anthony Joshua has said that Tyson Fury is the opening act, but it's his job to close the show. He also predicts that Tyson Fury is getting ready to retire, but for him, he's only just getting started. And this is what he had to say about Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury can bring whatever he wants. It don't matter to me. The press conference antics, the fight antics, the hands behind the back, I love that stuff. That's all part of it, that's his job. But my job is to close the show. He's a warm-up act. He's in there to do all that stuff, but ultimately my job is to close the show, and that's all that matters. For him, he said after he fights me, maybe he fights Chisora. Then he's ready to go off into the sunset. For me, I've still got so much more I want to do in this boxing game. The road to undisputed is part of this journey. It's not the end to the journey. That's what I know, that I will get past this fight because I am looking past him. I want more. This isn't where it stops. The fight, God willing, will be this year. I'm saying it's going to be this year. I'm going to speak it into existence and I will be victorious. Anthony Joshua's statement. Now, I didn't really like the closing bit where he says he's going to speak into existence. I mean, that's what Wilder's been doing pretty much his entire career. Speak it, believe it, receive it. And the only thing that he received in his last fight was an absolute demolition job. But anyway, so what he's saying there is, which is pretty plain, I'm sure, is that Tyson Fury, the press conference, the antics, the social media, all that kind of stuff in the build up to the fight, all the way through to the ring walk, all that kind of thing is fine. And even once the fight is starting, he can do the hands behind the back, he can showboat, he can talk, he can do this, that and the other. But ultimately, the most important part is to finish the job. And that is where Anthony Joshua comes in. And in some ways, he's correct. That's how it should be. Because while Tyson Fury, he is an entertainer. He's a fantastic fighter, of course he is. But his job is ultimately to sell a show. That's what he does. He's a showman. And he says it himself. It's his job to put bums on seats. It's his job to get people to want to watch him fight. Win, lose or draw, they're going to want to watch Tyson Fury. That's Tyson Fury's job. And the press conference antics, that Tyson Fury, he's going to go in on Anthony Joshua. He's going to call him a big stiff dosser and this, that and the other. It's going to happen at some point. In fact, don't be too surprised if the opening press conference is Tyson Fury being quite nice. But then as time goes on, he will start to amp it up a fair bit. I can see Joshua biting back, to be honest. I can see them two getting into an argument. I can see it having a bit of a shoving match, all that kind of thing. But ultimately, the most important thing is because for me, this fight doesn't really need selling, does it? It doesn't need all the theatrics and everything. Hey, it'd be great if they did it. Of course it would. It'd be great content for me. But the fight itself, the only thing that's really important is the result. We would love an entertaining fight. We would love this fight to be back and forth and one that we want to watch again and again and again and again. Is that going to happen? Probably not. I think their styles in some ways do clash. I think that it's not a man-for-man fit kind of fight. I really don't. But ultimately, who knows? And again, what kind of Anthony Joshua is going to turn up? Is he going to turn up how he's been for most of his career? Turn up looking for the devastating knockout, looking for the counter punch. Is he going to be the boxer like he was in the Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch? Is he going to mix it up a bit like he did with Kubrat Pulev? What's Tyson Fury going to turn up as? Is Tyson Fury going to turn up the way that he did against Vladimir Klitschko? Is he going to turn up the way that he did against Deontay Wilder in the rematch? Is Anthony Joshua going to turn up the way that he did in the first Andy Ruiz Jr. fight? Is Tyson Fury going to turn up the way that he did in the Otto Wallin fight? Because again, I know people talk about how Anthony Joshua, he got hit with that overhand right and everything was done and he was all over the place. Okay, people like to talk about that, but people don't really talk about the Otto Wallin fight. He got cut. That's pretty much what it is that they remember, that Tyson Fury got cut. They don't remember in round number 12, he was all over the place. His legs were pretty much gone at that point. Otto Wallin was moments away or a good punch away from ending Tyson Fury in round number 12. If you're an extreme Tyson Fury fan, you'll totally disagree with that, but go watch the fight and you'll see what it is that I'm talking about. So basically, both of these guys can put on stellar performances, but they both can turn up not quite with it as well, okay? Anyway, I think that that adds to a bit of the drama of the fight, and it makes it quite difficult to predict who's going to win. But what Anthony Joshua is saying is absolutely correct. It's his job to close the show. But as we've seen with Tyson Fury in the Deontay Wilder fight, he can start fast, keep the pressure on, and close the show. Now, can Tyson Fury do to Anthony Joshua what he's done to Deontay Wilder? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Stylistically, the close range game will be in favour of Anthony Joshua, which usually it's not, because usually Anthony Joshua is fighting the shorter guys like Andy Ruiz Jr., Joseph Parker, these kind of guys. So getting in close isn't always the good option, as it was with Alexander Povetkin when he took on Povetkin as well, which is why he was getting hit with some pretty big shots in the first 2 or 3 rounds. But when he keeps it long, he can handle these shorter guys. Tyson Fury, he's great on the inside. He's fantastic on the inside, but Wilder isn't. But Joshua, being a little bit shorter, more powerful and stronger than Tyson Fury, for me, I think that's where Anthony Joshua is going to have his success. I think if he tries to box Fury, it's not really a great move. At times, you're going to have to do it. But both of these guys, to avoid the knockout, because both of these guys can be knocked out by each other, let's not mess around about it, they are going to have to mix it up. They are going to have to do the boxing, and they're going to have to brawl at times as well. They're going to have to. That's the only way that either one of these guys is going to win. For me, I don't think Tyson Fury can just keep Joshua at the end of the jab like he did with Klitschko. I don't think he can do that, because Joshua is a lot more explosive than what Vladimir Klitschko was at that point. But likewise with Anthony Joshua, I don't think that he can do what he done with Tyson Fury, what he done with Andy Ruiz Jr. They are going to have to mix it up, and this does make for a very, very exciting fight. But of course, we can all agree, doesn't matter what you do in the build-up, doesn't matter really how the fight's going. The only important thing is ending the show. And basically what he's saying is he's going to knock out Tyson Fury, isn't he? And ultimately, that's a guaranteed way of getting the victory. Because there's no guarantee that Joshua, even if most people say, yeah, he definitely won that fight, he's going to get the decision. Likewise, there's no way that, there's no guarantee that people can look at that fight and say, yeah, Tyson Fury definitely won that on points and get the decision. The only way to get the decision is by knocking out your opponent, isn't it? Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.